Happy Monday, everybody. You're on with the Blondes right here on KUNX Digital Broadcasting, the OnX, your new mainstream. Hey, Dee Dee, how are you doing? Uh-oh, I can't hear you. You're muted. You're muted.
Let's try
There she is. It's Monday. We're just gonna get right into our groove here. It's Monday. It is almost the end of August. I don't even know what's happening, like where time is going, but I'm just gonna tell you guys, this is a glorious August for me. I have no kids going to public school. I couldn't be more excited right now. There's like a sense of calm that has rushed over me. Did you guys catch last week's show? We had Mr. Corbin Bentley on, a paranormal influencer. It's a very interesting sort of, I think, genre in paranormal. We're trying to figure out, does it help or hurt? I mean, we're talking about short clips, right? Which are fantastic, but we all know paranormal. There's no short bursts in paranormal, right? A lot of sitting around. So let's say hello to everybody on the side. Of course, we have our amazing Get Haunted family, like always, Rob and Kyle, hello, and Danny, hello. Thank you guys for your constant support. D Hoot, our very kind D Hoot, helping out World's Largest Ghost Hunt, sponsoring teams. So kind of her. We have Travis. Hello. I was cracking up. Dee Dee put in the comments, hey, when you guys come on, say hi and tell us where you're watching from. And of course, Rob's was, hi, I'm watching from my eyes. So he just can't help himself, right? Can't help himself. And Melissa is here tonight. Hello, Melissa. How are you doing? And my sister Deborah, all the way from Texas, there she is on tonight. So we had Corbin on, and did you guys watch any of his TikToks? I still have to admit, I have not jumped over to TikTok. Have you done that yet, Dee Dee?
I actually made a TikTok, but I put no content on it. And the first thing, like when its screen pops on, like I haven't even told them anything. And I had someone like screaming some like weird video at me. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to turn this off and come back later. It wasn't paranormal. It wasn't fashion. It was just weird.
Oh, well, yeah. I haven't done it yet. I'm afraid to start that, but
yeah.
And I always get, I watch on Facebook the reels, like any of the short videos, right?
Yeah.
And my youngest keeps getting on me going, oh my gosh, Mom, please just get TikTok. Like, she says reels are for older people. I am older.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know. But if you guys caught any of Corbin's stuff, he was in Gettysburg this weekend. There was the big Gettysburg Battlefield Bash, and some of our friends here on the side were there. Get Haunted was there with Dead Live. So I know Danny and Kyle and Rob were doing their thing, and Daryl Marstons from Ghost Hunters was there with Dead Live, and Chelsea Gills. They did. Did you end up watching the Dead Live?
I didn't watch it live, but I watched it afterwards, and I watched the whole thing because I was really interested to see them walking around. I thought they did a great job. It was interesting, but I wanted to be there. So it was hard to like not be there.
I watched, and then I'm not gonna lie, it was time for me to go to bed. It was getting but I was getting nervous because let me tell you something. They were like, hey, we're walking. And they're like, wait, why are we already back at the house?
Yes.
We shouldn't be there. And so it was an interesting, like, I started to panic for them. Like, oh my gosh, am I watching like 6 adults get lost in the woods right now with my very eyes? Yeah, live. Somebody, we got to get GPS on them right away. So keep your eyes open for some more Dead Lives. That's going to be a really cool concept. It would be hard outside though, right? Like I think the whole doing an investigation outside, you've got, you heard the bugs, you could hear all the, I don't know.
The bugs were insanely loud.
Yeah, it was pretty loud out there. And then it is the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash. So there's probably lots of people out and about doing things. Like you probably weren't the only people outside, right? So that's kind of a tough call, but it was definitely interesting. I definitely kind of got Blair Witch feels a little bit here and there. I was like, oh my God, is anybody going to start getting, it was their tension? Like, were people getting upset with each other? It's like, they went back, right? They went one way and they're like, okay, wait, why is the house there? It shouldn't be there. And then they went back and they're like, wait, the house is there, right? So then it's like, oh, fists are going to fly. But I take it everybody was fine because that was Friday night. So they had a whole nother day to be together. So
Yeah.
I think everybody was okay. So check that out. That is definitely a cool concept, this dead life concept. And I believe in the future, you're going to have an opportunity to vote on where they go.
Right.
Who investigates, how they investigate. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And yes, you know what? I love like watching everybody's pictures. If you're on Facebook with any team, really, Dr. Molnar was there, Haunted MD. I mean, Wes from Cops, like everybody was there. So it was really fun to see everybody's pictures. So the Blondes have got to get out there.
I know.
We just do. We're just going to have to force it. We're just going to have to be like, this is happening.
Yeah.
Let's do a fundraiser. We should do a Blondicon fundraiser and we'll get out to Gettysburg. We'll start now. There we go.
I love it.
Yeah. So Corbin we had on, and then next week we have Lawrence, who also is part of Get Haunted Network, and he is Mondo Doc. So very interested to see. He does some very interesting work. If you haven't checked his stuff out, go to Mondo Docs, Mondo. Check out his stuff. I love sort of how he puts things together from his investigations. They're very cool. And now he's got his girlfriend, Sarah Bentley, joining him. So I have not watched the latest one, so I don't know if she appears in a lot of that stuff or not, but it's very well done. He's very talented. So check out that show next week. And then on the Blondes channel, just to give everybody a heads up, this coming Sunday, I am sharing my Reiki teacher who got me my Reiki Master's certification, and Bowles sound bath healer. We're going to have him on. We're going to talk to him. We're going to have a good conversation about what sound healing, especially crystal bowls, how they can affect you, how they aid you in pain and anxiety, help you in sleep. They're amazing. And he's got some new amazing ones. I think he used to come to my house. He only had 6. Now he has a ton more. So
wow.
I'm super excited. So we're going to have him on our show, on our channel on Sunday, because I kind of thought we might need a little more than an hour, right? Like we're going to get a little bit of a lesson, but I want him to play some of the bowls for you. And even though I don't know how that's going to come across over, video.
It works, I think, because the one time that you had him, he was at your house in the yard, and I don't even remember what I experienced, but I experienced something, and then you related it to him, and he was like excited about it. So I'm excited to work with him again.
Yeah, I think just so you guys can kind of get that idea, it's so even if nothing else, like maybe we can get him to do 10 minutes of just playing something, like it's so relaxing. And I haven't had a sound bath in a while, probably since that night when I had shared him on live. And so he's got a whole new thing. He does have an album out that he was working with some people. So he does bowls a little differently. He does add it to music, and I'm just going to tell you, it has been life-changing for me, and I need it. It's like, I need to add that back into my life. So we're going to share John with you guys. So don't miss that 7 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday. You will get to meet John. Okay. So tonight I'm excited. I'm really excited about RKB Paranormal because my first sort of introduction to them is they were at historic Scott County Jail with Miranda and Chris. And they had a really interesting experience there, and kind of a big, profound one, right? Like, and I remember that night, it was so profound, right? That Miranda texted me and was like, "Oh my gosh, like, you're not gonna believe what's going on here." She was like, "Wow, like that's crazy." So we're gonna bring Damon on. Hi, welcome. So let's do some general questions though to get you introduced to our circle. So you are RKB Paranormal. When did you guys sort of set up shop?
We officially began in June of 2020.
Okay.
My best friend and co-founder, we've kind of been into this thing since we were teenagers. So we've been into it for about 22 years roughly. So it's been something we've always been into. So.
Isn't it funny? I always say this. It's like once you put a name on it or you get a logo, you're like, oh, I'm official now. Like I can officially go to locations. I feel like locations kind of sort of need that. Like it's like, I'm just not going to go as Sarah. Like you got to go as a team.
Right.
Okay, so you guys have been doing this for a while, which I love, because then this is going to be great to ask you some a little bit deeper questions here as we go on. So you're in Tennessee, and you decided you wanted to do historic Scott County Jail. Is like, when you picked that location, was there a specific reason you did? Like, do you like the jails? Have you done Brushy and you're like, okay, we did a big prison, let's do a smaller jail? Like, what was the appeal of the historic Scott County Jail?
We actually got our unofficial start at Brushy.
Okay.
So that was our first unofficial investigation before we actually started our team. And Josh, he actually works in corrections, and he's worked in corrections pretty much his whole life. And so we've always been kind of drawn to jails and prisons. So we've done quite a few. And when I found out about Scott County and seeing what they were doing with it, and I seen they were taking donations and stuff like that, my best friend Keith, who's our team's actually named after, he was an officer in our hometown of Dickson, and he was shot and killed in the line of duty in 2011. And when I seen they were taking donations, I was like, I've got one of his hats when he worked at the prison in Nashville. I was like, I want to donate this to you guys. And so they've got that on display there. So once I'd done that, I was thinking, I still want to check this place out, because I was talking to Chris and Miranda, like, this place is kind of hopping. So, so when we set up shop, and I emailed them and got it set up, and when we went, it just ended up being me and Josh. The rest of the team wasn't able to make it. And before we even got set up, and we were just in the little setup room talking to Chris, we were hearing people in the hallway talking and all kinds of stuff. So we just had that feeling it was going to be a good night.
Yeah, it's guys, if you haven't been, this is a location, yes, it's a smaller location, but I don't know, it's pretty packed full of some great energy. And I think the ladies who are taking care of that, and to your point, sorry for your loss with Keith, that's what they do, is they honor those in law enforcement, and they really do. But they have a few, I believe when my sister and I were there, they had gotten also a uniform. They had just gotten a uniform as well that they have. So, there's so many amazing things, and they do treat each and every piece of that with such great love and care. It's very apparent when you go in there. But it is interesting because you're not, with Josh being in corrections, like, they're not the only ones that you guys have been in that field coming to the jail. Do you feel this helps sort of bring out a little bit more activity in the jail?
I think it does. Because when we went to Scott County, we didn't go in there provoking. We don't do that kind of stuff, but he kind of talked to him like he was at work. Okay. And so when he started doing that, we noticed things started kind of amping up a little bit. And so we've kind of incorporated that. We've been to a couple other jails since then, and he kind of does the same thing. So, and he'll bring his handcuffs with him, his leg shackles with him, and we'll kind of use those as trigger objects. And it seems to help a lot.
Yeah, I find that location, it's definitely personal. Like, you can go in there, and I don't know if it is because it's small, or if because the girls are in there every day. It's almost like, how long had it been open when you guys booked your investigation?
Maybe a month.
Yeah, it hadn't been long. So, it is amazing to me. I feel like once your piece of evidence, and guys, you can go to the RKB Paranormal website. You do have that clip, I believe you said, on the website.
It's actually, the clip's actually on the main page of the website. So.
Okay, so this is one you guys are going to want to definitely check out. It's almost like, I remember when that happened, and I want to say, like, within a day, you guys had posted up, like, this is what we got. That it's almost like stuff really started to ramp up in that little stone jail. Like, it really sort of, I don't know, like, you guys, he might have been the first correctional officer to be in there investigating, because it hadn't been opened long.
Yeah, I think we were one of the first handful of teams to go in there. So
yeah, that's and Debbie, you're asking if the cat was there. No, Sally's new. Sally is new. So not when Josh and Damion went. So kind of set up for us kind of what happened in that moment, that people are going to, when they go to your website, they're going to look at this piece of evidence, but it's kind of set up for us, like, what was happening and what happened when that did happen. How many times can you say happen, Sarah?
And so we decided to end our night in the kitchen on the second floor. We had done hit up the first floor, done a lot of stuff on the third floor, and throughout the night, stuff was happening, but it always seemed to happen right after we were done recording or right before we started recording. So they were kind of toying with us all night. And so we're set up in the kitchen. We've got our REM pod set up, and we've got an EDI box set up. And Josh is talking his jail talk, and he's like, you guys have been doing all this stuff all night. He's like, but we want you guys to really show us what you've got, really show us that you're here. About that time, the REM pod just starts going crazy. The EDI box is fluctuating. And I just set my camera down on the table, and we hear this woman from the hallway say, help. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I grab my camera, walk over, open the door, and I say hello. And right when I say hello, the REM pod stops. And you can actually hear in the background, it's going, making these weird sounds. That's Josh trying to get it to stop going crazy. Doesn't stop. As soon as I say hello, it stops. And then you see this picture get knocked off the wall and goes flying, does a flip in the air, and lands about 4.5 feet away. And of course, by my reaction, I'm dropping some language and stuff. It really scares me. And he didn't witness it. He just seen my reaction. He's like, what just happened? And I told him. And as soon as it happened, I stopped the camera, and we watch it back right then.
Yeah.
And we watch it 3 or 4 times before we finally go down and get Miranda. And she's like, holy crap. She's like recording it on her phone. And she actually told us the next morning on the way home, she called Chris at like 3 o'clock in the morning, got her out of bed to show her this. And I've actually got the woman on video on a different angle from, but I didn't realize I had it until after we had posted the video and stuff, because I actually sent the video to Chris or to Miranda, and she's actually the one that edited and put it together for us. And but it was just one of those, more or less it was a matter of timing and just pure luck, because when it happened so quick.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know if I was actually filming the hallway or if I was looking at the floor.
Yeah.
If I'm trying to look through this little bitty screen in the dark, and then I look up and I see it happen, and by that time I'm done screaming and I have no idea where my camera's pointing. And so luckily we actually got it all on film, and that's been our most profound and crazy piece of evidence to date. So
Yeah.
I don't remember, because that was like a newer picture that Miranda and Chris had just put up as well, correct? Do you remember what was in the frame? Because everything that's in the jail, this is a museum as well, people. So everything that's in there pertains to law enforcement and or the jail itself or the Scott County area. So everything is connected in there. At some point there is a connection, right? So do you remember what was in the picture or on the picture?
It was actually a couple of different news articles about a former sheriff there that got arrested for being involved in the drug cartel.
That's right.
And so my first thought was, I was like, I think they said he passed away at some point after he got arrested. So in my head, I was like, maybe that was him who came back to the jail and was like, hey, I'm here and stuff like that. And that was actually the second time that night that picture fell off the wall. And so when it happened the first time, we didn't capture the video of it. We just captured audio of it. And so the way they had these pictures hung up, they had them hung up with like these Velcro.
Yeah, like the 3M or something, the command.
They had them like in like 4 or 5 different spots on there. So it took some force to get it off the wall. And when it fell the first time, I thought maybe somebody was in here during the day, was messing with it. It wasn't hanging up very well, and just eventually just kind of came loose. But when we put it up there, I was testing it. I was like, that's really hard to get off if it's on the wall really good. So when it came off that second time, when we got Miranda up there, we tried to debunk it for a good 20 minutes, trying to knock it off ourselves, trying to get it to do that same thing, and it would just fall straight down every time we would hit it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, because this picture, it actually it's like it's slapped off the wall. I mean, this isn't just sliding down. This isn't. Right. I mean, this comes away from the wall.
Yeah, yeah. Somebody.
And the real kicker for me is the flip it does.
Yeah.
And that took some strength to hit it that hard to cause it to flip in midair and then land a good 4 feet away.
Okay, so let's sort of get into this a little bit. So this is the most profound piece of evidence you've caught, but is this the most profound paranormal experience or activity that you've seen with your own eyes in your 22 years of doing this?
Investigation wise, yes.
Okay.
Personally, I've seen a full blown apparition before. Walking out of my house, a woman standing in the front yard, dressed all in white, long white hair, and the girl I was dating at the time seen her about 3 nights later when we were walking out the same door, and I hadn't told her about it, so it kind of freaked her out when I told her about it, and that's probably my most profound personal experience. But as far as of us actually investigating, that's been it.
So how far into your investigation though had that happened? Were you wrapping up?
Yeah, we were going ahead and going to wrap our night after that, so it was already probably about 1:30 in the morning. And so when it happened, and after we kind of calmed down and tried to debunk it, I told Josh, I was like, we need to go ahead and leave because I don't want to risk recording over this, accidentally deleting it, stuff like that. So, we had about a 3-hour drive home, but we were so amped and hyped up, like we weren't tired. And I got home at probably 5 o'clock in the morning, slept maybe 2 hours.
Yeah.
And like I was wide awake. I had to show my wife. I was like, you got to see this. And she's on our team too, and she was like, oh my gosh, what did you guys capture? It's like, what was happening when you caught this? And so in the video, you can see, this white anomaly comes down and it goes to the right. And then you see a shadow figure dart across the screen. And then when that picture gets knocked off, it looks like a hand comes out from behind the wall and like slaps that picture off the wall. And my wife spotted that right off the bat when she noticed it on the little LED screen. And I didn't see it until Miranda actually sent it back to us and it was slowed down and stuff. So, and that whole 30-second sequence between the woman saying help up until it ends, this is crazy.
That's a lot of activity in a short amount of time. And I do remember the hand, and there is no doubt here. There is no like, could be a hand to me, but not to you. No, it looks like a hand. And D-Hoot, this was an officer who was in jail for whatever he did. It wasn't the officer who was killed in the doorway. I think those are two separate, I believe, two separate situations.
That was the one that got shot in the doorway. That was a former sheriff too. But this guy, I think, was arrested in like the 80s or something.
Okay.
For being involved in the drug cartel.
Yeah. Because I just remember Miranda saying like, okay, and we had just put this poster up. They've been, adding all the amazing information around the jail. And it's a very interesting, piece of activity, because what was happening? Who was the woman? Do we have any?
That's what I want to know. Is the woman, or was it the man in the article? Was it somebody totally else? And it was just random that they hit that one picture. Like, do you want to go back and ask about it?
We're going back in October.
Okay.
So we've got it booked for, I think, October 2nd. So, and it's going to be more of us this time. So, we're not going in expecting the same thing to happen. Right. But we are going to try to reach out and say, who was this that done this? Right. Was it this person? Was it this person? Was it a combination of the two? So, and my wife's like super excited to go there. So.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, right. Like, so I have a question. Like, how we always talk about, and you said Josh brings his leg shackles, or he'll bring the handcuffs, right? So people definitely love to bring trigger items. Melissa, if you go to the RKB Paranormal website, you'll be able to watch this video. It is right on their main page. It's an amazing video. And I believe maybe even Scott County Jail might have that. I feel like they might have posted that up too.
I think it's on their Facebook too.
Yeah, so. It's such an amazing piece of information. Like if you check out, but go to the RKB Paranormal page and their website, and you can see it there. So, going back to trigger items. So, we bring these trigger items, and Miranda often will say, like, you could bring cigarettes to jails and prisons, right? Things that you think about, what could maybe stir up that energy. Mm-hmm. Do we ever think about bringing some of these little, everybody's got a projector for their phone, right? The little handheld projector that you can do something on the wall. What if you were to replay these paranormal experiences on the wall of the location you got it at? Like, does any of that, do you think, why couldn't that maybe trigger a memory to something, if that is a spirit that's always at the jail, let's just assume, we have to assume that that's a spirit that's always at that jail.
Right.
You know, could you sort of be like, hey, you remember this? Do you remember when you did this?
It's definitely an interesting idea. I mean, play it on the same wall it happened, and play it from the kitchen. That's an interesting idea.
I mean,
you never know.
Just stir their memory a little bit, like, you know, hey, last time you did this, and see if you can't get them to, I don't know. Maybe I've got this little Brookstone or whatever that store was. I think I got the girls a little handheld projector that, of course, nobody uses. It's just sitting in my paranormal equipment. Okay, so you said you don't really go in to provoke. You did sort of make that statement. How do you feel about provocation and how investigators use it?
I think it depends on how they're using it. If they're going in there and just cussing them and just being straight rude, I don't agree with that. Excuse me. We more or less go in, kind of motivate them a little bit, try to give them a little bit of a push. I don't agree with provoking. But that's just my personal opinion, because there were people once too. And even if like you're going into a jail and you may be interacting with somebody that was in jail, but it might have been for something super minor and they weren't that bad of a person.
Right.
So we go in looking at it as, okay, they were people once. We need to treat them with respect, just like we would anybody that's still living. And so when I see these videos of people just going in there and cussing them and calling them all these names, I'm like, I don't understand why you would do that, because you wouldn't do that to a person if they were right in front of you. Well, plus, we don't want to risk. I mean, they might. I mean, plus, we don't want to take that risk of something possibly attaching to us and coming home with us and stuff like that too. Right. So, we try to be as respectful as possible.
So, what is your thought on evil spirits or things that might lurk in a location such as a jail or a prison? That, you know, do you have the belief system that some spirits were never human, or do you feel all spirits were human and they were just maybe more negative energy?
I think there's the possibility of you know, people interacting with demons and stuff. I don't think it happens as often as a lot of people say it does. I think more or less it just could be somebody else, just a bad person in real life, and that's just how they're portrayed. We haven't dealt with anything like that yet. I'm really hoping we don't. I can deal with the evil people, but I don't want to have to call a priest to come bless my house and stuff after I go home. So
yeah. Does RKB have something special that they do before or after an investigation, especially after something like a jail? Like, what if, you know, we always kind of have this thought that things are stuck. And I don't know if I really believe that they're stuck. They might go to some place that's familiar, but I don't know if they're stuck. So do you do something to sort of shed that energy off of you after?
Normally before we start, we'll say some kind of prayer or something beforehand. And normally my wife, she's real religious. She always has a cross on her. She has a protection stone she wears whenever we're going places. And then we always end the night with a prayer and say, hey, you guys got to stay here. You can't come home with us. And so if something really crazy happened, which we don't have any of the oil or sage or anything like that, which we're wanting to get, I mean, we would probably do that after if it was something really, really intense. But normally just a quick prayer and tell them they got to stay there. They can't come home with us.
I tell a stray puppy, like, you can't follow me home. I can't take care of you if you come to my house. Okay, wait, I want to circle back though to your experience there with the picture. Did anybody get any weird feeling? Did anybody get like pressure or feeling sick or a headache or chills? Like, was there anything in your body that sort of, if you think back, you're like, oh, I could have connected those? I mean, it didn't happen in the room you were in. I get that. But was there anything that could have maybe predicted it was about to happen?
I don't think either one of us felt sick at any point near the night, didn't have no headaches. I know right before it actually happened, I think my battery's about to die. There we go. I wasn't plugged in. Okay. Sorry about that. I do remember right before we heard that woman, we both got cold chills, just kind of,
Oh,
and right about the same time we got the cold chills is when we heard that woman asking for help. So
okay.
and then again, we wasn't expecting to happen what happened, and
Right.
so we just, these things are going crazy, and we get the cold chills, and we hear that woman. So that was the only time I actually remember is right before
Mhm.
everything actually happened, is we got our bodies got chilled up really good. So
Interesting.
That
So
is
now
that-
you know if you go back and you start feeling that chill.
Yeah. Are you going to hear a woman? Are you going to, yeah, like, is that an indicator? I wonder who she is. I wonder if she
Me
is
too.
somehow related to a story. I know they have a couple stories on the wall, newspaper clippings of perhaps somebody that was a victim, right? So it was that
There
a
were
victim?
inmates that were women too, right?
There
Yeah,
was there the third floor, right? Was the woman's floor, I believe.
it was.
Yeah.
I know I remember them telling us about one woman who was in the drunk tank, and she had somehow got a razor blade in when she got arrested, and she cut her wrist, and she ended up dying at the hospital.
Oh,
And so I don't know. I was like, maybe that could have been her. And there was another article on the wall about a woman who had been murdered. Maybe could have been that woman. It could have been. It could have been anybody. But I know they said they've heard that woman before too, and a lot of other people have too.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that jail is definitely good for, if one investigator gets something, there are multiples that can kind of collaborate that story. Like for me, hearing the footsteps when we were there in early June, hearing that with my own ears. We were on the third floor, and the ladies were in I think the maximum security cell, if I'm correct, Debbie, my sister's on the side who was there. And then my sister Debbie was doing real-time EVPs, but she was sitting in the stairwell just kind of hanging out, and I was just in the hall towards the front of the building. I was just standing there by myself listening, and it was just like all of a sudden, you just hear the footsteps, and I'm like, what the hell is that? Like, what is going on? And it wouldn't stop. And Miranda's like, we just got that this weekend as well with another team. Like, and we don't know if it's the officer making his rounds, and that's what you're hearing, because you do hear him kind of get loud and go away and then come back. So it's that jail is really good for, I think, just really interesting and intriguing interaction. And it had never been used for this sort of thing before the ladies took it over. So you wonder if they're really sort of warming up to everybody coming to see them.
Right.
And the more these investigators come, although you guys sort of got the Mac Daddy of getting a picture slapped off the wall is pretty. Right. And I thought I heard Miranda say, like, we tried, like we were wrecking the frame trying to get it to fall off the wall to see if we could recreate it coming off the wall that it did, like the way it did. It's all very crazy. So again, if you guys
there now, right? Still, did she hang it back up and hasn't fallen down yet?
I don't think it had fallen since. They've actually moved it to a different location now. Because I went, me and my wife and kids went there about a month ago just to go during the day. And there's another picture hanging up there now, but the picture's still in the jail. They just moved it to a different room because they're putting together a new exhibit. So it's still there, but and they said it hadn't fallen before then and hadn't fallen since. So
whoever the article's about is like, you know what, I want my own exhibit. Like, do not put me out in the hall. Like, I need something special. I get it. Okay, so you've seen an apparition, which many of us have not had that necessarily, to my knowledge. I can't say that I have, to my knowledge. I don't think I have.
Right.
I don't know. So as you continue your journey sort of into this and, getting into in your 20s decades of doing this, do you have you found that your mission or, your style, does it change? Do you have one thing that you're really gunning for? Like, what is your pull to want to continue to do this?
Just the love of it. I mean, I'd continue doing this until I can't walk anymore if I'm able to. And there's so many skeptics out there. Mm-hmm. We want to show them people, hey, this stuff does exist. And, I've talked to people they're like, oh, well, why do you do this? I'm like, well, let me show you. And I'll show them that video. Mm-hmm. And they're like, you had to have faked that. I was like, show me how I faked this. I was like,
Yeah.
it was just two of us up there. There was no way we faked this. And so, and then just questions we've always had since we were teenagers, how does this stuff happen? How are these spirits here? So it's just a variety of things for us.
Yeah. And do you feel it changes though, as like every so many years that you do it? Has any belief of yours ever been waver? Like, do you ever go like, I don't think I believe that anymore, but maybe I believe more of this now? Like, do you have anything that changes for you while you do it?
Not really. It's all been pretty much the same. So
You've been consistent.
Yep.
Okay. Now you mentioned if people say you faked it. So that's sort of where I wanted to go a little bit tonight with, and asking investigators, there's a lot out there on social media, and sometimes the YouTube pages, it's all dependent on getting content and what you're putting out there. So how do you feel about those that are in it that might claim to be more of a very serious investigator, but sort of has the more hokey and enhanced, I don't want to completely say faked, right, but more enhanced content out there? How do you feel that sort of affects all of us as investigators?
I feel if people aren't in this for the right reasons, they shouldn't be in it at all. Like those kind of people, in my opinion, are out to get famous and to get their name out there just to do it. Whereas us, we could care less about fame, money. We could care less about, if we never did any of these shows or anything, we could care less. If we would still be doing it if all this stuff didn't exist, or we were never approached to do any of these shows, we'd still be doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
And we were interested in this stuff before there was ever social media or before there were TV shows. So we're about it for the right reasons. We love it. We're intrigued by it, and we just have a ton of questions we want answered, and that's why we continue to do it. That's why we'll continue to do it.
Yeah, I often find it interesting because, as you know, right, as we all know, a lot of times as you investigate, you could do, I don't know, how often do you guys go out and investigate?
We typically try to go out about every couple of months.
Okay, so that's a good, right? Sometimes I feel like people are out every weekend. It's like, how can you do that? But okay, so you're doing it every couple months, you're getting it out there, and not every location, even if they have big claims, they can't produce something all the time. And as you stated, as you were doing your investigation at the jail, sometimes stuff happens when the camera's not rolling, or when you're digging through your bag to get a piece of equipment, right? So you're missing stuff. So when you see the content out there on social media, it is one of those things where I notice it's almost like, how does your page have something on every episode that you're sharing? And I get that's what you're going to share, right? But there's a lot of sitting around, really getting in touch with your awareness of an area, right? You're really taking in the location, not so much getting paranormal activity, but really soaking in that location, right? Getting to know. Do you guys go back to a location? I know you're going back to Scott County, but do you tend to go back to something more than once to kind of like, hey, I'm introducing myself now, and then you're going to go back a little bit later and sort of like, now I'm back here and I'm relaxed and I kind of know what I'm getting into, and then you can really get into an investigation. Do you do that?
Scott County is going to be the first place we went to twice. Next year we have plans to go back to Brushy, because we have crafted our style a little bit since we was there in 2020. We plan on going back to Octagon Hall next year. We had a really crazy night the night we went there too. So, so we're open to going to places multiple times, because like you said, it doesn't always happen on cue, and you could be there for 8 or 9 hours and not capture a thing, but it doesn't mean I wouldn't go back there.
Yeah. I always think, like, if you're going to do an investigation, and this is what makes it hard, right? Because sometimes locations want to try to get in a few teams in a weekend, or, right, their busy time might be Thursday to Sunday or Friday to Sunday, however they do it. But you kind of almost need a few days. Like, you almost need to really immerse yourself, right? And I have found, and I feel like my sister might back me up on this, maybe not, we're all kind of a little different on this, but I feel like when you're in these locations, sometimes you just kind of need to be who you are. Like, you can't be in the investigative mode, right? You kind of just need to be in there and let them sort of sniff you out, so to speak, to be like, what is this person really doing here? What's going on, right? And so sometimes I wish you can book these locations for multiple nights, because like you said, you can't always get you can't. You're not going to get things on cue.
Mm-mm. And if you do, you get really lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Write a book and let us know how you're doing.
Yeah.
Because
I guess sometimes it happens, but it's unusual.
It's unusual, right? Like the picture slapping off the wall. I mean, you know, I feel like if I were to get something quite that big, I don't know, like, would anything else feel as grand for me? You've seen an apparition too. Like, you almost feel like if you saw that, like, is that it? Like, you just like, okay, I'm done. That's all.
I think it makes you more curious, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And see, that's what we want now. I mean, we always want more.
Right.
To actually capture a full-blown apparition on film, that's like the holy grail in this field.
Yeah.
So if you're able to capture that, like you said, what's next?
Yeah.
I want to capture it again.
Yeah.
I want to see more of it. I wouldn't just stop because I've captured that. I would continue to go and continue to research and just keep going.
But what would be next is, how do you convince, because you'll never convince everyone,
right,
to share this. And I always find that with the people out there that are sharing in paranormal that might not be that enhance their work a little bit. I noticed there are those investigators out there as well that kind of step in and will be like, hey, this person's faking, you know. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but, you know, kind of when I read those posts, you know, they'll be like, I'm here to call out those investigators that are faking their evidence. And, here's the thing. I mean, first of all, you'll never probably really get a real answer as if they're faking it. You're not going to know, right? But even if you were to have something like a full on, you're 100% honest. And I mean, I can bring one up right now. And Rob, you might laugh when you hear this. Sir No Face from Chad Kalick is sort of one of those ones for me that I'm not 100%. I don't know what I think about that. Well, I have a big opinion about that. But, you know, I'm not saying he faked it, but I'm not quite sure that you could convince every single person that is a full-on apparition pack, you know, because it's a few seconds. I mean, right. So I don't know. I feel like when you have those big pieces, have you gotten any blowback from your evidence of the picture coming off the wall? Has anybody suggested, I know you said the one person, but like, have you had any like mass comments of people?
No, most everybody I've shown or that's like commented on it, they're just like, holy crap, how did this happen? And so it's been mostly nothing but positive feedback. I have talked to one person in person. They were like, oh, I don't know if I'll buy that. I'm like, I have the actual video at home. I can show you, you know, and the entire 10-minute sequence up until that. So it's just, like you said, you're never going to convince everybody. So.
Okay, so then you were into this for a long time. It wasn't the apparition that got you started though. So did you just have a general like love of paranormal and then you're like, I want to go explore it? Or what really had, like, you believe that what you're out there exploring, you're going to get some form of evidence that you're going to be able to go, this is a good solid piece of evidence. What was that one thing in your head? Is it your religious belief growing up? Is it the love of, you know, some people love it because of horror movies, they kind of get into that stuff. Like what was your sort of like, this is why I really love ghosts?
I was just always really intrigued about it, even as a kid. Like the most craziest thing I remember as a kid, I was about 3 years old, and I don't know if it was a dream or if I was actually seeing this, but I remember waking up and it looked like there was a witch like floating above me. And, you know, being 3, it could have been a dream. I could have just been in and out of it, but I remember that like it happened 5 minutes ago. And even if it was a dream, it's stuck with me ever since then for 30 something years. And I have a terrible memory. So that actually had to have had an impact on me for me to continuously remember it. And I remember when I seen it, you know, I pulled the covers over my head, and when I pulled it back down, she was still just kind of floating there. And then I pulled them up again, and when I came back down, she was gone the second time. And I remember telling my parents about it the next morning. They were like, you know, you were having a bad dream, whatever. But that moment kind of is what set me down this path. like I had numerous things growing up, even by teenage years, that I remember these different things happened pretty much everywhere I lived growing up.
Okay, so it's something that's with you then, not necessarily one particular location.
Right.
Okay, so then I have to ask, so when you say you're 3, first of all, I can't remember anything from when I was 16, much less when I was 3, but
Right.
or even last year probably. But you're 3, so really, what could you have been watching at that point? That the image of a witch
Right.
would have been something in your subconscious, right?
I mean, unless I was watching like a Scooby-Doo cartoon or something, that's the only thing I could think of.
Yeah.
mean-
Do you have siblings? Like, where do you fall in that? Are the youngest? Or are you?
I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest. Okay, so
So
you would have
at
been the
that
one
point-
torturing them.
Right.
Yeah. Wow, that could have been some kind of visitation because you woke up where you were at
Mhm.
hmm
and she just floated above you and looked at you, didn't interact other than
Didn't
that.
do anything. We're just she was horizontal, like right above me, just floating. And like I said, it freaked me out to the point that it stuck with me for this long. So
Well, I wonder if that could be the apparition you saw later on and she kind of changed her appearance. Like she's letting herself be known
Good
again.
point. Good point.
I mean, it's possible. I never really did think about that until just now.
Yeah. Something to think about.
Yeah. Now that it has my mind turning a little bit. So
Yeah.
I never thought of that.
Yeah, that's a good
Could
point,
be.
Dee Dee. I
Yeah.
like that. Okay, so now you've had, 3 years old. How you were not, you just pulled up. I would have been in my parents' bed so fast. I've gone in there for lesser. Like it's like there is no way if I thought I saw something floating over me. So this is definitely something for you then that you had this experience and now you have this just general pull that's like, I got to understand why these things happen. Do you work with people, residents, private? Do you guys help other people that might be experiencing these things because of that experience for you? Do you help people outside of or inside your community?
We've talked about it, and there's been people that reached out to us, but like the stuff that they would explain to us that's happening in their house
Mm-hmm.
is like so far fetched. I'm like, if this is really happening, I was like, I don't think you need to be calling a paranormal team. I think you need to be calling the church and saying, hey, can you send somebody over here to exercise my house?
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things that if we do go into somebody's house and we don't experience anything they said that happens there, and then we have to turn around and say, okay, nothing's going on, then they're either going to think we're full of it or they're going to think they're crazy.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that to somebody.
Yeah.
If it's somebody I know, like we've done like my grandmother's house, if it's somebody we know and that we know wouldn't be pulling our strings and stuff like that. So it's kind of hard to go to a personal residence because you don't really know what you're getting into. I mean, I'm open to it,
Mm-hmm.
but it has to be more or less not conjuring type stuff that's going on in their house.
Yeah. Don't want to bite off more than you can chew. And I had done that a few times where I was working with residents or people within the community, and sort of what I've learned over the years that I did it, and I would go in there by myself, is one, paranormal is so personal. So
Mm-hmm.
what you're experiencing in your home, unless it is like you said, unless furniture's flying and that's just what it's, and I've never experienced anything like that. So I think it is so personal, and like you said, that's a really tough, because you're like, okay, it's not happening for me, but that doesn't mean it's not happening for you. And you do have to treat it because you don't want somebody to think that you think they're crazy for having these experiences, but you also, how much will somebody share with you? And that's what I would usually say, like, I'm going to ask you some personal questions, and I'm not saying you have to answer them to me. I'm going to put those out there because you got to understand what is going on in your life that these things could be happening. How much do we manifest ourselves? So do you think going into these investigations, even if you're not doing somebody's home, but even like in the jail or something, do you feel like anything that you bring to your investigation, if you had a horrible week at work, you're just like, I hate it, I don't want to go back, and now you go on an investigation, do you think that sort of helps ramp up activity?
I mean, it's a possibility, but for like us, if we've had a bad week and we know we have an investigation coming up, that's our stress reliever.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're looking forward to that. And once we get there, like everything that's happened during the week doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Like our sole focus is on that building and what we're there to do.
Mm.
And so, even if we have some personal stuff going on, or it was a crap week at work, we don't let that affect our abilities to investigate. So, but it's a possibility that it, for some people that it could kind of amp stuff up.
Yeah, your energy though, you're just so chill. I don't know. Is this
Yeah.
you? Is this you all the time? You're like, it's all good.
Yeah.
Just,
I mean, I'm not the worrying type. You can ask my wife. I very rarely worry about stuff. She could be like worrying about something. I was like, it'll work out. Let it play itself out. It's going to be fine.
Yeah.
So
there you go. Wise words. Everybody,
Yeah.
maybe RKB could start I don't even know. Just a chill session before this. Everybody, don't worry. You did say you freaked out when the picture fell off the wall. But it's interesting because when you see the video, and this is something my sister and I were talking about right before the show, isn't it funny as we investigators, right? We're there, we're like, we're gonna get this, we're gonna get something crazy cool, and then that thing happens and we're like done. Like, run. But you really you react, because why wouldn't you react to something like that? It's shocking, right? Startling. You're gonna have some reaction. Pretty cool though that really you stay the course. You're kind of like, I mean, that's a picture being slapped off the wall. I mean, I think in my head, I might have gone like, who else is in here with us besides Miranda? Like, who else could be in here with us outside of the ghost world? Like, I'm thinking real people world, like what's going on? But you guys pretty much, and you were in a room with the door closed. So you go out there, and I have to say, you guys stayed pretty calm for what was going on.
I mean, it may have came off as us being calm, but
yeah.
I mean, by my reaction, it did freak me out.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was like so amped up.
Yeah.
Because what I just witnessed, I was like, oh man, I was like, that was insane. And I'm the one of the team that gets spooked the easiest.
Okay.
So I do scream a lot.
Okay.
And 90% of the time, it's usually by something that's not paranormal.
Yeah.
So, I mean, because you're walking around in the dark and you're not knowing what to expect. So when you turn a corner and there's a mirror in front of you and you see your reflection, it's going to startle you a little bit. At least most people it would.
Yeah.
And so I'm normally the screamer during the investigations, but that's just me.
I love that. There's always a go-to. Like, what's your go-to, Dee Dee? I feel like Dee Dee's the same way. You're very chill. Like, I feel like you're in an investigation and something could totally go by you.
Because when something like that, like we had a clock fly off our wall in the house, and my husband, who's the calm one, he flew off the couch up into the air and like jumped down and was like, looked at me and like, did you see that? And I'm like, yeah, because I just kind of like freeze in the moment and like my brain's trying to process what just happened. So it's like our personalities switch. I'm the hysterical one, but I'm calm when something major happens.
Yeah.
And he's the flip side. So I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah. It's because you don't know. I agree with you, Damon. Like, it's when you're in these investigations, little things can freak you out. Spiders are my freak out. If I'm in any kind of a location and if I think there's a spider on me, it's over, right? But it is interesting to sort of hear when you're investigating with a lot of people how it comes out, right? Some people do the scream, some people do the jump, some people, to me, it's a very interesting. Yes, Rob never freaks out. I've only heard him scream at Heyman House, I don't know how many times, and it's loud. I feel like the guys really give it all their whatever they got when it comes to the scream, when it comes to paranormal.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so you let everybody know you guys just started a podcast.
We did.
Oh, you did.
We just recorded our 5th episode last night.
Awesome. Tell everybody what this is really, if you guys haven't followed it, this is called, what is your podcast name?
It's called Life Beyond 6 Feet.
Life Beyond 6 Feet. I kept thinking 6 feet under, but that's a whole series. Life Beyond 6 Feet. Check it out on Facebook. Super cool. So what are you guys hoping to do with this podcast?
Just talk to people, more or less. I mean, we've got some TV people lined up. We got teams I've befriended. We've talked to some of them already. I've got Chris and Miranda lined up to come on. before we even got started, I already had about 26, 27 episodes worth of guests lined up.
Wow.
Nice.
It was just a matter of actually sitting down and trying to figure out how to do it. And one of the things I think makes us a little different that a lot of podcasts will edit stuff out and chop it down. I don't edit anything, so which makes it a whole lot simpler. But
Yeah.
I feel without the editing part, you're getting more of the real person.
Yeah.
Instead of like a chopped up and edited version of the person. So, if we're sitting there talking and we go off subject for a minute, I keep that in there. If they have a sneeze attack, I'm keeping that in there. So, I mean, like I said, it makes the process a whole lot simpler for me too.
Yeah.
So all I got to do is click a couple buttons and it's uploaded.
Yep.
The only thing I do edit is because I record through Zoom, and I don't have the pro version yet, so it records for 40 minutes and stops, and then I do cut the very ends of that off and put it together where it just flows into one piece. I haven't perfected it yet because I have noticed a couple of episodes where you'll hear me saying, "Okay, I'm going to stop recording now," but it's all a work in progress. But it's been pretty fun so far.
Awesome. Listen, and you will find, I mean, it's always fun to go back to your beginning podcasts and then just to see sort of how you grow in the flow. And that's awesome. Well, I hope you guys, we wish you much success with that. Where will they be able to watch these episodes?
The video portion, we have a YouTube page just for Life Beyond 6 Feet.
Okay.
Then if you just want to listen to the audio part of it, we're on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Audible. We're on about 10 different platforms. I'm still waiting for Pandora to approve it. I'm trying to get it on iTunes.
Okay.
So, like I said,
right now, wherever you get your podcast, you can find Life
pretty
Beyond
much.
6 Feet.
Pretty much, yeah.
Awesome. And so you guys, what is your very next investigation?
Scott County Jail.
Scott County Jail.
Well, actually, we're trying to get into a little bed and breakfast up in Paducah, Kentucky. We're trying to do that here in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
If we can't pull that one off, then Scott County is our next one.
Awesome. Well, I definitely want to see what you get. Try the projector thing if you can, or replay it on your phone. Just see if you can get. Just be like, hey, you're a superstar. Do you want a repeat performance? Like, just see if that sort of gets them going.
Yeah.
Well, we're sorry Josh couldn't make it tonight. Guys, please go and check out RKB Paranormal. Look at all their socials. Please check out their website. Go check out that piece of evidence. It is very intriguing. And follow them on their journey of podcasting with life. Oh my gosh.
Life Beyond 6 Feet.
Life Beyond. See, I can't even remember that. That was just a second ago. Horrible. Guys, thank you so much on the side for your constant support. We love you and we appreciate each and every one of you. And thank you for your chat on the side. You guys always keep us great company. Truly love that. Race, thank you for being our producer and helping us out. We appreciate you. Dee Dee, always a pleasure, my friend. We've got some fun things coming up. Guys, hey, before we go, please remember, she's going to be on World's Largest Ghost Hunt, September 24th. Get your dreams to her, hauntedhourpodcast@yahoo.com. Send those into her because you guys can have your dream analyzed right there on World's Largest live around the world, people. So get those dreams into her and check out Anna Mae. Guys, thank you so much, and we will catch you next Monday.
Bye.
Bye.